What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Alex here from Team Generations, and today we are back again with another video. Today we're going to be looking at a deck list for Amon Scharhrot. Basically a deck that I think is actually pretty good in the meta currently, and I anticipate it to do a little bit better, assuming we do get a Steam Mains hit in the upcoming English ban list, which has not been released yet or announced in terms of when this video was being recorded. So I'm going to do this a little bit differently. I'm just going to lay the cards out, kind of explain things as I go. I typically go into a little bit more detail, but videos are really long. Editing takes a little bit more time on those over there, and I'm just super pressed for time as of late, so do want to get this content out to you guys, get some cool deck lists out there. So let's get going. And if you are interested in purchasing any of the cards you see here today, we do have a TCG player affiliate link down in the description below. Really appreciate you guys using that if you are interested in purchasing any of these cards. Also, if you're enjoying the content, make sure you leave a like on the video. Make sure to leave a like on the video, possibly consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you in advance for all of that. So starting off right away, I'm actually going for Scharhrot. Now, I know a lot of people did cut this down to 3 and consider it maybe the second ride target, but I think this deck is kind of aggressive to the point now where, like, you can still ride Scharhrot first and actually, like, close out or get really close to winning the game. So I think without seeing him, you pretty much will not win the game. I think Amon's really decent, but overall, this is your finisher, this is your closer. You need to see him at some point, and so much blind soul charging in the deck, it makes it really dangerous. So in my opinion, you do need to see it. I think maxing it at 4 copies is right in my opinion, just my playstyle in general. You can cut that down 2-3 if you really think so, but I wouldn't go lower than that. Personally, I've even seen some lists going 2. I just personally don't agree with it. Next up over here, this is going to, oh yeah, obviously, just to give a little more background, obviously Amon Scharhrot, counter blast 1, kind of stand your units after they've already attacked, get +1 at the start of battle. I'm not really going to explain every single skill as I go through it, just the important ones, and obviously that is a finisher, closer kind of deal, and I'll show you why in just a little bit. But a first ride, great going first kind of target over here. Demon World Marquise Amon, basically negging your opponent from hand, field, drop, just helping them kind of fill their soul, which kind of gives you a little bit more advantage for other cards in your deck. In general, this is actually a really great rear guard too, gaining power, gaining extra drive checks, just making sure that, you know, you're either A, putting a lot of pressure on early, or B, just later in the game or on rear guard circle, just actually becoming a pretty threatening target overall, and really kind of coordinates with the rest of the deck in general. So really great target. I like it at 3. Again, I feel like I only ride this once per game. I don't like to ride it really twice. It depends on the matchup. Maybe that can be in certain matchups, but in general, I think riding it once, going first, is pretty good. Next up here, I'm just running 2 of these guys, and I feel like I see them every single game. It's not really something I miss necessarily, and there are other ways to kind of fix it if you do soul charge them or kind of get rid of them in a way. So 2 of the number of terrors, again, just allowing yourself to plus. This is really decent when you think, like, you know, you've expended your hand, you really started soul charging a whole bunch of things, and that really costed your hand. You just swing with this guy twice off of Amon, and I mean off of Scharhrot, and basically you get to just refill your hand, just really get to a point where you feel kind of comfortable going into the next turn. Just be careful, don't do that like twice per game, because then you probably will deck out at a certain point. This guy gets power, gets shield, you know, if you really need it in a desperate pinch. Overall, it's just really solid, so I believe it definitely needs a spot in our deck. If you wanted to cut this down by 1, I might increase this guy by 1, so that is definitely a choice to consider. Next up here too, something that really kind of makes the deck actually like insanely potent. This is one of the early design V cards where it just felt like too broken for the game in general when it wasn't like achievable back then. It is very achievable now. This is Hope on Damp. We all kind of know what it does. So guarding in those increments of 20 on a multi-attack from Scharhrot, it's nothing new. You guys know what it does. I think is very powerful. And again, 20 cards in Soul is really not too crazy at all, especially in this build. Next up too is our Soul kind of fixer. We are going with Variance Drag Form. I do need one of these in the deck. Honestly, sometimes I really wish I had 2, because this just fixes whatever you want, get from your soul, you know, put another card into your damage zone, so on and so forth. Just really solid overall, and I really think that it is necessary. Lastly, over here for our grade 3 lineup, I'm just going to toss this right here. This is going to be just one of Gasteel. So Gasteel comes up in certain situations. If you are over 20 and you think you can actually pull him off, like, it's still extremely hard for your opponent to kind of get around it, especially like if you have them at 5 or whatever the case may be. They might think you're playing this and start to play around it. You can still continue with any of these strategies over here, but this always kind of threatens in the back of their head. You know, you might be running this, so putting an extra card from their hand to or putting a card from their hand into their damage zone, just straight up winning the game, auto win over here. It's not like a heal trigger kind of situation where that could happen. This over here could just straight up end games, and it's super easy to soul charge in this build. This actually has won me like 3 games in general since I've been playtesting it. Probably played about 20 games kind of just playtesting this in general, so I really actually love this card. Definitely include it at a 1 of. Next up here, getting into the grade 2s, we are going to go with 4 of, I can't really see it with the light over here, let me just move it down there. It's it's good enough over here. But this is Amon's follower, Ron Gielan. Again, pretty decent for your ride target. You can soul charge off that, get an opponent's card either from field and soul charge it. Just again, making sure that your opponent's soul is big so that you can get different effects on your regular Amon, on him himself too. Just again, gaining natural power, gaining more shield, actually allows you to bulk out pretty well, and I think that's a big advantage of this deck that's kind of underrated, just the ability to bulk out in general and its defensive capabilities. So this guy definitely helps with it. Also a new promo card over here, really the reason I'm making this profile. Honestly, I feel like this eliminates a ton of counterplay. If you previously counter-starved Amon Scharhrot, I feel like, you know, you did have the grade 1 bunny, but you needed to run other cards in order to kind of like make sure you had the 3 copies of it in soul, whereas this one over here just counter charges, filters a little bit more. Let's go through the whole skill because it is new, but continues on Guardian Circle. This is Covetous Succubus, so continues on Guardian Circle. If your soul has 6 or more cards, this gets 5k extra shield, and if it's 10 or more cards, gets 10k instead of 5k, becoming a 15k shield, which is awesome in hand. And then second, or actually intercepting too, auto on rearguard circle, its second skill, once per turn, this unit attacks. If your soul has 6 or more cards, put one of your other rearguards into your soul, countercharge 1. Then if your soul has 10 or more cards, draw 2 cards and take a card from your hand, put it into your soul. So again, just fueling your soul, clearing your board in situations where it would be advantageous for your opponent to have something on board is really decent too. And again, countercharging, this is a mid-battle countercharge as well, so a little bit less strenuous and kind of there's not the same kind of restraints as using the, I think it was a Killer Bunny Tail, something like that, the grade 1 countercharger on rest. So I personally like this a lot more. I feel like this does a whole lot for the deck and brings it to a new level. Lastly, over here for our grade 2s, we are going to be running 4 of Demonted Executioner. I think this got reprinted, so it's pretty cheap. But again, just fueling your soul charging 3 is really great early game, possibly drawing you a card too, which could then like extend. So this whole deck really is running off extenders in the lower grades as we kind of continue on over here, and just making sure that you get to that 20 with as much ease as possible. Getting into the grade 1s, no surprise, starting off with 4 of the Fuel Gielan. Again, putting a card from your hand into your soul is always solid. It's a little bit more of a filter just to draw a card, and then your opponent chooses a card from their hand, puts it into their soul, again stacking their soul for this Amon over here, for this guy right here as well. So they all kind of obviously meld together. Just have to run them. They are a really solid package. And then at the beginning of the battle phase, if your opponent soul 6 or more cards, you soul charge 1. Again, exactly what you want to do. Choose one of your units, gets 5k until the end of turn. You could proc this before this one over here, just a heads up. So yeah, because they're both at the beginning, you know, you get to choose the order. So if you need to hit a little bit more for that that Scharhrot right there, you definitely could do that. Next up here too, let's see, am I going to put this over here? I think I will. Yeah, you guys can see that. This is going to be Amon's follower, Atrocious Blow. This guy's really great in terms of just getting him on board early if you don't fear removal. Rest him, soul charge, give something with Amon an extra K for every card in your soul. So, you know, have 12 cards in soul. I rest this guy, soul charge again. Boom, I put a 13k on that guy right there. So really solid on Vanguard as well, especially if you're searching for the target of Amon. I think you can search either one over here. This is, yeah, 1 grade 3 card. I'm sorry, yeah, just this guy right here. Yep. So that is why we're also a little bit more comfortable running in at 3 of, because it's a little more filtering out of your deck with this card. Ideally, you really do want him on rearguard circle, but you could fix your ride target if you didn't have one in hand and actually searches, because we're not actually running the grade 3 searcher. Lastly, in the main deck over here, aside from the starter, we are running still 2 of the Yellow Bolts. I don't know if Yellow Bolt, I think Yellow Bolt did get reprinted. Yeah, it did. Still a decently expensive card if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if it's honestly too much, but only real expensive card I think is this right here, Scharhrot, in this deck. I think this one's pretty cheap at the moment, but Yellow Bolt really is a awesome ride target. Ideally, you go from Yellow Bolt into this over here, and now I know I am running it at 2 of. If you hit it, it's great. If not, you know, it's not the end of the world. I feel like there are still really solid ride targets over here that do a little bit more for us in the late game as opposed to this. So again, if you hit this into the Demonted Executioner, you're just like in such a great position to hit that 20. It feels like a breeze. With everything else in this deck too, it's just like I said, super easy. So very happy with that. And then over here, I am running 1 Vermilion Gatekeeper as the grade 0. I feel like this is just a cool little starter. I always like this art over here, so any V starter is good for you. Next up here, we're going to get into the triggers. Now, I am running 3 of the crit PGs. I'm trying just 1 of the regular PGs, but like the draw ones, but I feel like in general with so much blind soul charging, you need to up your critical just count in this deck in general, because you end up soul charging a bunch of your crits, and you want lethality when you're swinging. You still want to pressure with your Vanguard overall. You don't want to, you know, just take duds. So upping the crit count in general is really great. So total of 10 right here, 3 and 4. I am running 1 of the blank ones. I think I would convert this honestly to a what is it, the critical triggers right here. I just wanted to test having a little bit more in the deck in terms of draw, but you can always throw them off with one of those if you want. Like I said, one of the regular PGs right there, the perfect card, the draw PGs, and then we have 4 of our Cutestyle Defender. This is the grade 3 Heal Guardian. I feel like you want to limit and damage map yourself pretty effectively. This really helps you do it, and you don't want to get rushed down because this really is a second grade 3 turn deck. I want to say you really aren't going to close out on the first grade 3 ride. It's really coming to your second one, so being able to limit some of the damage is really great in general with this card. And we do make protect markers, so that's why I've kind of upped the count of the regular sentinels. Over here you don't have to discard something from hand because a lot of things end up calling from hand, or you shred your hand in a lot of different ways in order to kind of extend and soul charge and whatnot. So I feel like these just kind of keep a bit more in hand to do that in general. So thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know your builds down below, any comments, any changes you would make. I'm actually like loving this deck as is right now, having a great time, seeing a lot of success in my playtesting and my practice. And again, we do practice with really good people in general, really good players. So I am confident in my results with this, and yeah, I'm just having a blast with it. So thanks for checking it out. This is Alex from Team Generations signing out.